President Joe Biden has taken the first crucial steps to try and bring peace to Yemen.
A war which has created a humanitarian and strategic catastrophe. This war has to end.
He's ended U.S. support for the Saudi-led bombing campaign. He's hit the pause button on the sale of F-35 fighters to the UAE. And he's taken the Houthi rebels off the U.S. State Department's terrorism list. But reversing some of the U.S.'s misguided policies alone won't end the Yemen war. The U.S. has helped the Saudis enforce a blockade on the country, which threatens to starve millions. It's also provided logistical and technical support for a bombing campaign that's targeted civilians. Given that, ending select elements of the U.S.'s support for Saudi Arabia isn't enough.
We are ending all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales.
A focus on just offensive operations raises more questions than it answers. What do offensive operations mean, and who defines them? If the U.S. provides intelligence to Saudi Arabia about attacks launched from Yemen, is that defensive or offensive? What are the relevant arms sales exactly? And what are the contours of our security obligation to Riyadh? To be clear, Houthi rebels have committed atrocities, and they've used the civilian population as hostages in the war. But at this critical stage, revoking their terrorism designation has been hailed by aid groups because it helps ease a humanitarian catastrophe that affects all Yemenis.
America is back. Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy.
To truly end the war, the U.S. needs to end all its support for the Saudi-led campaign, push the Saudis and Emiratis to fully withdraw, and support a diplomatic process that also ends the violence of the Houthis and Iran. Standing by the Saudis and the UAE, giving them a green light to run amok in Yemen, runs counter to our national interests. Instead, Biden should invest in a diplomatic process involving all the relevant parties, all the Yemeni factions, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran. It's the only way to truly end the violence, and the only way America can show leadership in the Middle East. Not as a belligerent or an arms broker, but as a peacemaker.